On today's Ask a Shrink, let's look at one important reason why somebody may be having the wedding bell blues. The wedding bell blues, it's been immortalized in different pop hits. And if you're suffering from that, it can indeed take a toll on somebody when they want to settle down, they want to get married, maybe start a family, but something's standing in the way. There could be a variety of reasons as to what that's about. Today, I want to zoom in on one, and that's related to being emotionally smothered by a parent. When somebody's been emotionally smothered by a parent growing up, they may get the wedding bell blues in terms of they can't quite commit. There's so many obstacles. They don't know what to do about it. Or we can flip it for the person that they're dating. My boyfriend or girlfriend just tends to run away when we get a little too serious or have the talk about taking our vows, about getting married. All of a sudden, they're gone. They don't want to be there. They want to symbolically run away or literally run away. Somebody's been overly enmeshed by a parent and they're made to feel icky because of this. Then when they get older, they're looking for something with no obligation, nothing too serious, because that's going to trigger the feelings they have about what relationships were for them as a kid growing up. A relationship, what was role modeled for them about what love supposedly is that you get taken over by the offending parent. And I'm talking more right now about the most obvious symptoms, or shall I say the top of the totem pole symptoms, but there's also a variety of symptoms that continue on and on and on under the top ones. For example, for a male who's been emotionally smothered, he may be worried as to whether he can maintain an erection with somebody who he has an intimate, ongoing relationship with. That probably ties into being burdened, overburdened by the mother who took them over. So they lost their power, so to speak. They were emasculated. They were controlled by a powerful woman. So now they're risking that if they're falling in love and dealing with true intimacy. So one way where they know they can get an erection, there's no problem whatsoever, is in a one-night stand or a very casual relationship. And that's because in the more casual relationships or one-night stands, sex doesn't feel icky anymore. There's nothing gross about it. They're having fun. It's erotic. It's hot. But if they start to fall in love with somebody and they're getting emotionally closer, then the burden of the emotionally smothering parent will creep into the reality with their partner that they are now dating. And if they haven't dealt with this icky feeling that comes along with that, with being grossed out, with the feelings they have about a mom who overly enmeshed them, maybe was a bit seductive, then that can trigger a variety of icky reactions when they get close to somebody as an adult. Covert or emotional incest definitely is defined by being inappropriate with a child on different levels. If a mother is very seductive, perhaps in the way she dresses, the way she caretakes or flirts a little bit with the son, tells the son he looks so handsome, so sexy in those jogging shorts he's wearing. Or maybe growing up, you got a lot of massages from a mother like that, a lot of just inappropriate touching on some level. It makes a kid feel icky. Of course it does and would. Same thing for a daughter with a father. She's going to have the wedding bell blues when her new boyfriend is now pushing to get engaged because they felt so responsible for the parent growing up, because the parent took them over emotionally, because that so stripped away healthy parts of their identity. Now that they're older, they're like, no way am I going to get near anybody, close enough to anybody, where I may risk that may happen again. With a daughter who is emotionally smothered by a parent, she may worry that she's going to be frigid, perhaps the way she felt around her father. Perhaps a defense mechanism, a way of coping with this father who just completely took her over, made her feel like she's supposed to be the little mini wife to him. One way of coping with it was she became very depersonalized. It dissociated to some degree. She felt frigid and cold and emotionally cut off inside as a way to cope with this perpetrator of a father. Well, now she's worried if she's dating somebody, she's falling in love with somebody now in her 20s, either consciously or unconsciously thinking, I'm going to be frigid again. She feels that detached feeling. She feels those childhood feelings now reappearing that were caused by her father, and so she may be worried about frigidity. There could be some sort of inner conflict because they may be thinking, yes, I want you. I like you. I want to date you. I want to get to know you better, so come here. But then the person is coming towards them, and then they're like, no, go away. They push them away. So there's the back and forthness. That's the inner conflict playing out. That's the inner conflict that they had about their parents. The daughter is falling in love now that she's older, getting closer to somebody. The son is beginning to fall in love now that he's in his 20s or 30s with somebody. They may be drawn to going down that aisle, taking the vows, getting married. But then they remember, I have to take care of my father or my mother as they get older. That's my role in life. They've been brainwashed or conditioned this way. So now they're going to get the wedding bell blues and run the opposite direction from this person because after all, I have to be there to simply be with, take care of, love, help, assist, be there for my aging parent. I have no choice. I have to do this. That sadly can happen quite often to kids who were emotionally smothered growing up. As a reminder, right now I'm talking about emotional smothering, but of course these same symptoms can happen to victims of all kinds of abuse. Another reason kids who grow up who are victims of being smothered tend to go from relationship to relationship, have a real problem settling down in any healthy, meaningful way with a partner is because over time they also may become addicted to the rush of those first few months of dating somebody, the rush of getting to know a new person. It's all about those neurochemicals. When the neurochemicals are sweeping through us, everything seems wonderful. It's a high. People then continue to seek out that high. Well, that high, if you want to call it that, is only going to go on a few months. Sometimes that's also called the honeymoon period. Yes, the first months of any relationship generally bring ecstasy and incredible happiness, it seems like. The mood is always elevated. They feel so high and wonderful. And again, part of that is because of the neurochemicals and the fact that they really haven't got to know the person yet. They're still living in a fantasy, perhaps. Nothing wrong with that necessarily. Those first few months generally do involve some sort of fantasy element for most people. But part of maturity and being emotionally adjusted and emotionally healthy in one's life is we realize that that will wear off and then a real love sets in. And the real love is about being able to be authentic and intimate and committed to our partner and not having to run away because things are close. In fact, we should be close and we can still maintain our own identity in a very close, intimate relationship. But if a child was taken over and they weren't helped with understanding what I just said right there, maybe they've had no therapeutic work. They just think they're going to disappear when they're with somebody, just like they had to disappear emotionally with their mother or father. They had to be the chameleon, the people pleaser. They couldn't really risk showing who they really were. Well, think about it. If you're now older and you honestly are thinking that that's going to happen in a relationship, you're in your 20s or 30s, let's say, then that's terrifying. And of course, you're going to run away, cause more incidents of the wedding bell blues, and so the cycle continues until we begin to address those underlying issues, hopefully with a therapist, somewhere safe where you can look at the impact of what it was like for you as a child growing up, being taken over on some level, but that doesn't have to continue whatsoever in your adult life. And one way for it not to continue is to examine those feelings, those very confusing feelings, scary feelings that you had to go through as a child. In the examination of that, feeling the feelings, working through it, processing it, we begin to heal. We realize that that's just a sign in a way to the childhood that I went through. Yes, it's my history, but now I've worked through my history. I am strong, I am whole, and I'm complete, and nobody is ever going to take me over again. So when we reach that point, that's when we don't have to have the wedding bell blues and we can walk down that aisle with somebody head held high if that's something we want to do in our life. And we feel very safe doing that. So we see how childhood can affect so many aspects of our adult life. In this case, I focused on the wedding bell blues. I hope it's helpful for some of you who have dealt with this in your childhood. Much progress can be made, incredible progress, when we're willing to examine our childhood, talk about it, and feel our feelings about what we had to endure. So please leave me some comments in the comment section if this is something you've endured in your life. I'd love to hear a bit more about your story. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing out from Ask a Shrink.